I want to give Pat the stage though, because I think a lot of people have heard more of my speak on the show of why I did actually enjoy and I'm not upset about the Corey Perry edition. I know that I was probably in the minority. I firmly understand that. Pat's here to debate with me. Pat wants to yell at me. It's been a hot minute. We haven't yelled at each other since Jeremy Colleton was head coach of this team, and I take a big fat
Oh, the
L on
good
that
old
one.
days.
I will raise my hands to the sky and say I was very wrong, and I it sucks being wrong in that situation because it's just one of those things where you wanted to see the team get it right, and of course they didn't. So Pat, the floor is yours, my friend. Why are you absolutely devastated that the Hawks went and got Corey Perry?
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you said, everything was a positive. It's all been positives leading up when they win the lottery. Even before they won the lottery, I like that they had finally chosen a direction and started to go into it. Everything was coming up Blackhawks. And then they do this. I would be in a camp of bringing in some veterans to surround a young 17-year-old Connor Bedard with. He's got to learn from someone. Corey Perry is not the type of player that I want him learning from. I think Corey Perry is a shitbag. I think he's the type of player that they say, oh, you hate him if you play against him. I think I'm going to still hate him seeing him in a Blackhawks jersey. I might hate him even a little bit more. I don't like anything about him. Yeah, you got to have those pests. We all loved Andrew Shaw. He was a pest. Corey Perry has loser stink to him, to me. He went through this all these last years, went to the Cup final 3 years in a row with 3 different teams and managed to lose all 3 of them. Tampa Bay does all this winning until Corey Perry gets there, and then they start losing again. We've seen it. We talked about the numbers. I have a list here that I'm just going to rattle off, but we put the new numbers out there. He's wearing number 94 for the Blackhawks. Feels like a loser number. It's like a spring training number from the guy with the White Sox or the Cubs that you can't even pronounce their freaking name. And it doesn't matter because you'll never see him again. But we're going to see plenty of 94 skating around the United Center ice, probably skating off to the penalty box because he did something stupid for the 800th time in his career. I'm also going to miss, or maybe we do just bring it back if we can all get on board that we don't like him. We'll bring back Corey Perry facts, if we remember that from back in the day, like the 2015s when the Hawks were playing the Ducks. And we just tweet all these mean things about Corey Perry. But one of the big things on more of a serious note that I don't love is we talked about, we're not bringing Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane back because we want Connor Bedard and all these young guys to come in and issue in the future themselves and not live in the shadow of Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews. Now, I understand that Corey Perry is nowhere near the same thing because he hasn't been here for all this time, not the same level of player, yada yada yada. But if you want to bring in now some veterans to echo him in. I don't agree with the Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane thing because David said he doesn't want them to live in their shadow or have to try and live up to that. Look, the kid has all the pressure in the world on him. Having a guy like Toews and Kane there can take a little bit of that pressure off. But I digress. I don't see Corey Perry as that veteran that you want issuing him in. I don't see it. I don't think he's a winner. Yeah, he has one Stanley Cup. That Stanley Cup came when Connor Bedard was a whole 1 year old. So he's not my guy. He's one of the guys I've hated the most. Anything, unless it was Ryan Kessler coming out of retirement and finally playing center for the Blackhawks like we always thought he was going to, I couldn't hate this move more. So that's where I'll leave it at. I hate Corey Perry, and I think the average Hawks fan should too.
And I actually like some of the points that you brought up, Pat, because I understand that the hatred, right? Like, especially at the height of this Blackhawks golden era, right? Like that was what it was. The Ducks were a team that the Hawks had to go through more often than not. It was the Ducks and the Kings. They were the two thorns in the Blackhawks side in the Western Conference for all those years. Sure, you had some flirtations from teams like St. Louis and some in the Sharks, but overall, it was the Kings and the Ducks, right? That gave you those great, Western Conference Finals series and even the second round series that we saw over all those years. I think he's here to be an agitator, just like you said, right? He's here to protect Bedard. He's here to be that, I'm gonna he can't spear Connor Bedard if he's on your roster and you're paying him. I mean, that's maybe the one golden ticket. He can't injure your prize 17-year-old anymore because he's playing on his, on one of the lines underneath him at some point. But I think with Perry, the $4 million they ended up giving Perry, I will say this, because I do like the move, because I think what it brings is that physical element, a guy that's just been around the league. I don't even think it's more so of like the taking him under his wing. I'm almost hoping that maybe like a Taylor Hall is that guy that takes him under his wing, because they're both former number one picks, and because he's actually a scorer, and like at least at this point in his career, right? Obviously Perry's put up 40 and 50 goal seasons in his career, but that's not Corey Perry nowadays. Taylor Hall was still putting up 60-point seasons as of 2 seasons ago. So I would rather him be the guy that ultimately kind of takes him under his wing. I think really, again, I like the Perry signing, but I will agree with you on this. I will absolutely agree with you on this, that I think the Perry signing and in them giving him what they gave him contract-wise because of the inflated contract number they gave him at $4 million has deterred them from making other moves. Maybe that was the $4 million that could have gone to a Max Domi, right? Like,
that's what I was just about to bring up here.
I think that's where, and I think that's a very fair, right? Obviously, none of us were unfortunately what I would do though to be a fly on the wall in Kyle Davidson's office for just one day. But you almost have to wonder, like, was there that conversation there of like, hey, could we bring back Max on like that 1 year, $4 million deal, or 2 year, $4 million deal that still wouldn't, cripple you from a cap perspective. But then, like you said, they go out and they give it to a guy like Corey Perry. And with Foligno, I think it's a little different, right? You give him the $4 million. You say he's here to be a veteran. He's kind of a nasty guy. He had a very, kind of nasty reputation in the Eastern Conference for a long time. I have a very close buddy of mine that's a big Penguins fan, absolutely hates Nick Foligno because of his time with the Blue Jackets. But he was also a captain. Like, that's a guy that was very well respected. And I know Perry wore a letter in his time with Anaheim. I know he was an alternate to Getzlaf for some of those years, and I understand that. But, like, Foligno was a captain. Absolutely earned that right to be a captain. I respect giving him a little bump and incentive to say, hey, you come in here and do this. He's not there to score, right? To me, they almost want Perry to score is what it feels like here. Because – yeah, I mean, he put up 12 goals in a bottom six role last year for Tampa. Not bad numbers, truthfully, when it's all considered, especially being as ancient as he is. Like you mentioned, he won a Stanley Cup when Connor Bedard was still in diapers. I really do think, like, I like the move, but I also do understand the other side, right? I understand, the hate just as a Blackhawks fan for him and what he did to the Hawks over those years. But I think even just from, like, a team perspective, like you kind of brought up, Pat, like, it does feel like it might have, because now I was doing some research today, and I'll reel this back in here in a second. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole. I was doing a little research today of guys like, what are guys that the Hawks could target that are still out on the free agent market on like a 1 or 2 year deal. And there was a couple guys that I caught there, like myself sitting there looking at, and not necessarily like the Vladimir Tarasenkos, who are probably going to make, $5 million for 1 year or something like that. I'm looking at it and I go, who would I rather have in these lines other than Corey Perry? And there were quite a few names that I think now are blocked because of a $4 million contract for Corey Perry. I don't even think it's necessarily so much as like it's not the dollars, right, that are blocking them from doing it, because they have plenty of cap space. It's the physical roster spot that you block now, because you paid the guy $4 million. He's going to fucking play. Like, you don't have a choice, right? So maybe they did block something that Bedard could have used on this roster. Maybe it was another scorer. Maybe it was, something of that nature. Again, it's not a dollars problem. It's a physical roster spot problem, because he is going to play somewhere probably in your top 9 more so than, in a bottom 6 role.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, I also see your point of it. Someone's got to do it, and he's got that mentality. And, maybe he'll be a little hungrier. You play those last couple of years with Tampa. Now it's a completely different situation, and he's expected to be more of this veteran leader presence, where he went into a Tampa team where everything was already established and he was just another guy. So maybe we get something positive out of him. Maybe he does blossom into this role. I don't, just just my preconceived notions of how I view this guy. I don't see it because, like I said, I think he's a jackass. But hey, who am I? I'm a jackass 50% of the time, anyways, too. So I guess that has play. So maybe he can be our jackass. I doubt it. It's burned into my brain of him in 2015 ripping Marian Host's stick out of his hands and kicking it down the ice. You do that to a guy like Host. I mean, do that to any of the 22 other guys on the fucking team. Don't touch Host's stick. But I don't know. I hate it. I hate it so much. But I hate him. The situation could play out however you want it to, and we'll see what happens. But I don't like the guy. The hockey player, whatever. I don't like the guy.